Hello. I'm good. Where are you? Yes, it's very much on. Where are you?
I'm waiting for my doctor's appointment, so I'm out in the
Oh,
streets.
oh, you're out in the streets.
hmm
Well, how is it out on the streets?
Rainy and ugly.
Rainy and ugly. Well, um, um, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for joining on um, a day in which you are headed to your medical appointment um, to do this spaces, looking back at the impact of Black trans people on pop culture in 2021. I know that there's a lot of things that are going on right now, and so I just want to thank you before we get started.
Thank you for having me, sister.
And also to say that I'm in a strange space because I just found that a really good friend of mine died overnight in South Africa, likely from COVID. So it's just
My
strange how.
condolences.
Thank you. How death continues to accompany us in these moments. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is how at this particular moment of, we now know that last year, 2021, was the worst year for the murders of Black trans people on record. It was also a record year for creativity for us, and I just continue to find that super interesting. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit with you, but a good place to start is, of course, with your amazing release of Juicy, your album that people can download in almost every space imaginable for music. It's gotten really good reviews. It was written up in paper. By Fatima, and has just continued to get a lot of praise. And so I'm wondering, I know that for you, 2020 and 2021 were really tough years, but at the same time, you've produced this amazing work. And I'm wondering what the relationship between those things, like, how did you get the energy and the courage to decide to create in this moment?
Well, I'm an original COVID survivor, a March 2020 class of March 2020. So after surviving that and dealing with that for 3 whole months, because remember, this is before testing, this is before a vaccine. People still didn't know what this virus was.
True.
So I was just winging it and trying home remedies and spiritual remedies just to get through. And thankfully I did. But I made a promise to myself. I think like most people do, when we see death knocking at the door, we got to clean up house. And I had a lot of things on my bucket list that I didn't done because of procrastination, fear, rejection. So I just left it, there. So I'll get to it this day or next day. But after COVID, it was given, what's up with it? Like, I need every piece. I need every piece of what I can do, whether it's filmmaking, whether it's music, whether it's performance. I need to live my life for the fullest because it was almost taken from me.
Yeah. And what if for you is the main message of Juicy? Like, what is the thing that you think holds together it as an artistic vision for you?
Flavor,
Huh.
believe it or not, it was citrus that I think helped me through COVID. So when I think of citrus, I think of juice. When I think of my bars, I think of juice. When I think of my body, my big black body, I think of juice. So Juicy is that. It is a manifestation of what goes on in my mind. It is my own sound. It's my permission to be sexual. It's my permission to be gutter. It's my permission to rob these niggas, and just putting out all the facets of me in a very, very juicy EP. And I'm so happy that the people are receiving it because I made it for us.
hmm When you say you made it for us, who's the us, and why did you make it for us?
Well, first and foremost, black trans women. Like, I made it for us. I made it for the LGBTQIA community in whole. I made it for black people. I made it for children who may be too young but have to sneak the record like I snuck Little Kim's record.
Mm,
I made it for all of us because I believe in the power of being a true MC, whether it's I'm hosting an event or writing poetry, performing poetry, or rapping. I bring the heat, and it was time.
Hmm. That's so fascinating when you talk about like having to hide, Lil Kim's record, or it's so fascinating that, we never, one of the things that we don't often think about is the impact of our work on young people, or younger people, and how, like, when we look back on our own lives, that those types of creativities for us were like lifelines.
Exactly, and they help, I think, kind of shape who we are as adults. By no means am I saying, hey, play juicy for your children. In fact, I've been getting emails from parents, concerned parents, saying, oh, Miss Mojo, how are you teaching little children how to suck dick on record? I said, I'm not teaching anyone how to suck dick on record. I tell you how I do it. It's nuance there. I'm not saying, hey, little girl, hey, little boy, do this. I'm saying this is what I do, and I do it well, actually. Learn from this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's much more about the manifestation of like the ability that you have, visibility and agency, right? That probably is coming across because a lot of times, like when I was a kid, a lot of sexual stuff kind of went over my head. Because your brain's just not even there. But like, like seeing Grace Jones and these other people, what came across for me is like just the power of their embodiment, like their ability to be themselves. And I'm sure that that's one of the things that's coming across for people as much as anything. Um,
1,000%.
yeah. So one of the things that's fascinating is that like we are in, like, again, in this contrasting moment where like there's so many of us that are dying each year, and that goes up every year, but at the same time we're in the midst of these amazing creative communities. Like, we are all together in a creative community, and for me, I know that I constantly get inspired. I actually had this conversation with Jordan last summer that like I constantly get inspired by everyone else that's creating around me because it inspires me to create even more. And so I'm wondering, when you look around you, in addition to what you've done this year, what are some of the standout sort of Black trans people, Black trans creators that you look at and that kind of fuel you in some way or inspire you in some way?
Definitely Mercy B. Definitely Queen. Definitely my activist friends. Queen June, Nala, Simone. Basically all the girls I named in my track, them queens. The
Yeah.
Sanayas of the world, the Mikas of the world. Everyone who's still here and those we have forgotten. Well, not forgotten, but those we have lost. You never say forgotten. So, for me, it's I'm surrounded by dope people. And just outside of the transits, I have dope people surrounded by me. Issa in the room is one of them. Beautiful photographer. Olivia, a beautiful esthetician. Like, it's so many creative people around me. And it never feels like competition.
Yeah.
Baba Gabor, Lena Prima, Iconic. Those are my peers. And I can't wait till we do our Ladies Night remix 2022, speaking into existence. But these people keep me going and they actually care about my art, which is a rarity in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that when I see everyone around us creating, for me, it is inspirational more than anything else. I get excited. Um, I get excited, and just like the range of Black trans people that are creating right now, and the range of stuff that people are creating, I think is truly staggering. It's like a bounty of creative inspiration, right now, and has been that way for, it just continues to grow like every year.
I mean, if you look at it 100 years to the date, Black Americans were surviving the Spanish flu
Yeah,
and then birthed the Harlem Renaissance.
true.
So it's about time. This is our new Renaissance. COVID's still doing a nasty job, but so did viruses back then. I think art comes from struggle, survival. And I
Hmm.
think as trans people, that's all we know is survival.
Mm-hmm.
Whether no matter where you get in your life, survival is always at the forefront, especially if you are a binary trans person. Survival is always at the forefront of your life.
Hmm. Hmm. What are some of the moments for you as a Black trans person this year that kind of stand out culturally? That, like, it can either be people who are trans or who are not. It could either be controversy, um, um, or not. Or what are some of the things that you think like really drove out the way that we were perceived in pop culture this year?
Visibility. I think your organizations like TransLash is constantly doing the work. BTFA Collective, the Oprah Project for the girls. We have decided to take up space when space wasn't afforded to us. So I think that visibility is really where it's at. I look about 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't see this on my immediate network. Even as a trans person, I didn't see it. It wasn't there, whether it was funding or just resources, it just wasn't there. So to see the pandemic happen and money just fly in, shout out to Beyonce Black Parade, shout out to all the people who donated to BTFA because of them, amidst the George Floyd protest, we were able to finally have funding in ways we deserve, no questions asked, and we just created the best we can from that.
Yeah. Can you talk about a little bit about like um Black trans femmes in the arts? Because there's a lot of people that are in a part of that over the last couple of years have really began to blow up. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how important it is to be a part of like not only an artistic community kind of writ large, but like an actual artistic community in which you all support each other.
Yeah, so Black Trans Femmes in the Arts (BTFA) was created by Jordan J. the Great, and this girl came all the way from Florida, and planted herself in New York and changed the game. I think, when I think of situations like that in which she single handedly created something, because understand, we started in 2019 before there
Right.
even was a whiff of Corona, and we were, trying to pull resources in. So during the pandemic, to get all of that stuff, it was just up and it's stuck, you know. We work with so many people. We have something called the list, and it's a directory, a global directory of all trans talent, whether that's art, music, film photography, literature, spoken word, speaking engagements, tech, because a lot of times when they are prejudiced against us, they use the fact that we don't have the numbers. But now you can no longer deny us because we have something for everybody. You need oranges, we got oranges. You need apples, we got apples. You need candles, bath salts, incense, we got it how you want it, for us, by us. So I'm so proud of BTFA. And, several people have seen our drops on major TV networks, and people have been stopping me in the street to say what's up and show love. And we do all of this on the humble. We do all of this on the humble, and we don't ask for anything in return but these Black trans femmes to be great and create.
Hmm. So one of the things that you do a lot, and that has definitely been controversy this year, from everything surrounding Lil Nas X to you name it, is you spend a lot of energy engaging with Black cis het men and Black cis het people in general, confronting them about the hypocrisy surrounding us, the hypocrisy surrounding queer people in general, and pointing out the damage that that's done. And I'm wondering if do you think that any of the things that we're doing in terms of like cultural shift, through all the ways that you speak, do you think that it's like having an impact on Black culture overall? Like, is it getting through to some of these people?
Yes, 100%.
You
I
do.
had I had so many people I have met on the Clubhouse app here on Twitter Spaces, where we have put in the digital work to truly educate and have these uncomfortable conversations. And let me tell you something, Amara. A lot of it is trans people, specifically Black trans women, are a lot of cisgender people biggest fear. But me, I'm my ancestors' wildest dream. So I
Mhm.
have to shake up the room, and I have to be present, and I have a level of privilege. I have pretty privilege behind me I have passability privilege behind me. I'm employed. I'm artistic. I am able to live on my own. I have a lot
Hmm.
of privileges. So I'm always going to speak up for the more marginalized people in my community. I think the part that gets lost sometimes when we speak about the competition between trans people and cis people is that the
Hmm.
LGBTQ community are also cis. So the fight has also been with them, and that's why I'm saying remove T from LGBTQ 2022 as my running platform. I'm expecting some kitten heels and a pantsuit from you and Mara. Thank you. Let's get it going.
Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, and the way in which all these issues are being tackled. So, like in I Am Jazz this season, there's a storyline where Jazz is flirting with Giselle. T.S. Madison comes on as well. Jazz, of course, has gained weight, and so that's a part of the storyline. And this active conversation around shifting the way that cis people see us as, potential threats or othering in certain ways. It just, I mean, I just am always blown away by as much progress as there's been in all these pop culture ways that we've spoken about. I mean, we haven't even spoken about Pose, for example, or Mila Jam's breakthrough hits this year, or the list goes on and on. She had Diamond with Cyndi Lauper. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been happening this year. Tourmaline is in the Met. There's a list that's longer than we can name. But at the same time, like, one of the things that's driving a lot of the murders behind us is Black cis het men who don't see us as human. And I'm just always blown away by how much work we have to do on that front.
And I think a lot of times also we got to understand that a lot of the notoriety we get is through the white gaze. I have no interest in participating in the white gaze as long as I can because for me, it doesn't serve me generally. Someone said something so interesting to me. I was speaking to someone and she was an extra on Pose,
Hmm,
and it was transphobic rhetoric happening in front of
hmm.
me. And my response was, how are you being transphobic when you just spent 3 seasons on Pose, a trans show? And her response was, Pose was not a trans show, it was an LGBTQ show. And when I
Huh.
say that stopped me in my sleep, I said, oh, hold on, wait, hold up. I had to look and I said, wow, she's correct. She's correct. So I think with that visibility, it's a lot of gazes that are not for us, by us. And we still have so much work to do for our superiors in this world unofficially, but the people murdering us, because we're not dying, we're not passing away, we're being murdered. So it's
That's
so
right.
much work to be done.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the murders are always like brutal. And they're almost always people that know these women in some way. They're either
All the
attracted to,
time.
like in some way. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's also the other thing. So one cultural thing that you take on a lot, you kind of even played with it in one song in Juicy. Um, but um is the whole idea that like we're tricking men. Like that's one cultural idea that we haven't found a successful way, I don't think, of really answering in a way that like breaks through. What do you think about that? Because that's the number one thing that everyone always says is that we are tricking people. Like even if people can accept that we exist, that we have a right to exist, if we ever get into some sort of altercation with someone, you know, specifically that's romantic, or if it results in murder, people will be like, well, you know, you guys tricked that person, and that's such a cultural notion, and I don't know how we answer that specifically, like that gets people to stop saying dumb shit around it.
Um, by telling the truth. So many people use that narrative because it serves them. But the reality is, how were you tricked and the genitals went in your mouth? How?
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
it doesn't add up to me. So just telling the truth unapologetically, educating my sisters to know that these men, we're not tricking these men. These men are tricking y'all.
Right, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's really strange. And like you there's I mean, the fascinating thing, right, as you know, is that there's no way that anyone can look at a cis het man and know whether or not he's attracted to trans women or not, or whether or not he has been with butch queens as well as cis women. There's nothing that you can tell. I think that we all know people that we have seen data come across that no one would think twice about. And so this idea that the people that are running the game are the men, I think is really smart, actually.
And I think the biggest disservice for me is that people really think that we transition for others. Like, can I
Hmm.
ask everybody who have so much critique about trans people, trans this, trans that, would you change spaces with a trans person for a month, for one whole month? Would you do it? And the answer is always no. So
Right.
they can recognize the privilege they have in that instance, but when it's time to really do the groundwork, they're aloof. So it's a sick thing. But what I'm finding to be successful is that building unison and educating us so that we aren't constantly triggered by the same things that or rhetorics that they use. Educating our community, being in the know of what's going on, normalizing being comfortable in your skin, not promoting pussy stunning, all these things that we have to do internally because if we wait on them to change, we'll be here another 100 years.
That's right. So when you think about next year, right, thinking about all the ways in which like there's this long list of creativity that you've done, that we've done, that our community has done, that has happened in all these places, but still, I mean, there's so many other places that need breakthroughs for trans people. Like we need more theater, we need more trans people in musical theater. There's a lot of places in culture where Black trans people still need, there's a lot of work for us to do. But when you look ahead to 2022, what are some of the things that you would like to see yourself change, like in pop culture, and that may excite you?
In pop culture, I would like to see the promotion of sex workers in a positive light. Because someone
Mm-hmm.
had mentioned it to me that sex work, although it is work, it is mostly healing. And we need to regard
Mm-hmm.
our sex work community members as healers because that's what they do. And you pay healers for their services. We know that to be true. I
Yep.
would love to see that. In pop culture, I would also like to see trans rappers such as myself be able to make music without having to be pigeonholed to transness. We know transness is
Yep.
movement. It's always movement. So to keep someone in one box, I think has disturbed a lot of us throughout the years. Lastly, in pop culture, I want to see more non quote unquote passable trans people in major roles.
Mm.
I understand the stigmas of Hollywood and beauty, but we have crucial and critical stories that need to be told with the people who actually look like the stories that's being told. So
Yep.
those are the things.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that the whole trap is to let one standard of beauty, the traditional standard of beauty, overshadow everything else. And this is what I tell people all the time. I'm like, you're trans no matter if you've done absolutely nothing. Like, you're still trans and you still have an experience. And there's been a period for all of us when we went through a really awkward stage in our transition. And I think that us helping to change what beauty standards can be for everybody would actually help everybody, right? If we were
A
able to
thousand
tell the
percent.
stories that you're saying, like, we would actually shift beauty standards for everyone, and we would create more space for everybody to be themselves instead of having to feel either less of themselves or to do shit that they don't want to do because they're trying to not they're trying to survive.
And when the most marginalized get free, we all get free. I tell my cisgender sisters all the time, everything that trans women are fighting for includes you. And you need to sit with that and look past your biases. Everything we are fighting for, especially Black trans women, we are fighting for you as well. You benefit as well. You get access to better medication, medical care. You do too. So knowing that our fight is not as separate as we think, and also knowing that the grace that y'all want us as a community to extend to y'all, extend it to us. Extend it to us when we quote unquote clocky. Extend it to us when y'all disrespect us in the workplace. Extend it to us at family dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Extend that to us. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many more stories to be told. And, I think that we've like we haven't even scratched the surface yet. It's so strange that just because there's a modicum of visibility that people are like, trans people are everywhere. And it's like, no, you can probably still count the number of trans people that are in television. You can count the number of trans shows on television on one hand. You can count the number of, trans artists that are assigned to a music label literally on one hand. Like, and as long as you can do those things, then we have a really long way to go. And it infuriates me that just because someone's like, oh, there's someone like Mojo putting out music, that trans people have won. And I think that that's a mistake that people often make about visibility and our impact on culture as well. I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree 1,000%. Like I always said, the project is for us because I know it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. If I never had the opportunity to create another music project, what I have done has changed the world forever. And I received that with my gifts. And I'm glad I put it out. But to your point, it's so many ways in which the quote unquote allies need to step up. Like, I'm sorry. Lip service was cool during a pandemic. You couldn't come outside. But what happens in real time conversations? What happens in real time conversations when you hear people being disrespected for their gender? When you
Hmm.
hear your cisgender homie disrespecting a woman he was
Hmm.
attracted to because she's trans. This happens on this app all the time, you
Hmm.
know? So that work needs to happen in real time. And I'm looking forward to allies actually being allies 2022.
Yeah, and being allies, like for the allied conversation to just open up so much more, because there's so much more space. If we think about like the number of music venues that are across the country, that is a possibility that should be open and a possibility for you, for everyone creating art and Black trans femmes in the arts. Like all of the spaces that are about cultural creation. True allyship would mean reaching out and extending and building up people that are already creating, not just like acknowledging that we exist in one way, but it's actually creating more opportunities. That's, allyship is an action, right? It's not, that's the
Always.
thing that's like the thing that's totally missing right now, is that it gets to be an action.
And it should always be an action because a lot of allies get the feeling that once they've been deemed an ally, the work is done. No,
That's right.
you always should want to be educated on more, as we want to be educated on our own transness.
That's
Be
right.
students to your allyship, right? You don't go into universities and tell the professors what you know about the subject. You pay your tuition, cash out, money sign, mojo disco. You pay your tuition and you learn and you take that knowledge and you take it out to the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I wish that we had had time for questions, but actually, we ended up taking the whole time ourselves. If someone has a burning one, you can raise your hand really quickly. Otherwise, I'm going to have to let uh, Miss Mojo go because she has an appointment. But even despite the fact that had that still joined us for this conversation, so I just wanted to thank you for coming on today. I'm doing a course next year called More Than a Hashtag, which is a little bit about what we said about pushing allyship to the next level. You can find out more about that in my Twitter feed at the very, very top. It's a pinned tweet. But more than that, Miss Mojo, I'm so excited that you created this year. I'm excited
Thank
for
you,
everything that you're going to
sister.
create next year. You are a blessing in so many ways and have been. And I can't wait to see what else you're going to do.
Thank you. I can take some questions. The doctor didn't call me yet, child. I'm Benji Clint in the lobby.
Oh, you can, you can.
So
Okay, let's
yeah.
see, let's see, let's see. Are there any questions for anyone? We're getting lots of 100s and love emojis, but there's no one raising their hand.
All right.
No, no one is raising their hand. So I guess this was a listening crowd this morning. But thank you so much. I'm sending you the best for the new year. Continued success for Juicy and elevation of your art and your voice and your work. And for all of us, like the world needs so much more of us, period. End of
Thank you so
story.
much. Before we go, what's your favorite track on Juicy? I'm curious.
Call me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's so inviting, it's seductive, it is playing with him. It's all of that. It's all of that. It's so it's the seduction that gets me. I mean, there's a full range of tracks, but that's the one. It's the seduction.
I
You're
agree.
so
It's
good at
you.
it. How many people do you have in your DMs, by the way?
Child. I lost count. I don't even check anymore. It's really critical in my DMs. I swear to God. Especially being on Twitter with over 10K followers, it's very critical here. So I just let God be God and life goes on.
Okay, well, I mean, I mean DMs in the good way though. Like, have you gotten any dates out of these DMs?
Oh, I mean, I got a couple dudes and women and they them sticking up my skirt. So we'll see how life goes after the pandemic. I'm not dating during the pandemic,
Okay,
personally.
okay, because you don't trust
Yeah.
nobody. You don't
No,
trust nobody during the
ma'am.
pandemic.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Well, this is a good way because if someone sticks with you during the pandemic, then you know that they are for real.
Wake it up.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Happy New Year to you. Much love to you, and
Thank you,
keep
sister. You
creating,
too.
baby. All right. Bye, Miss Mojo. Thank y'all for joining.